Hey everybody, it's Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday already. It feels like it was Sunday yesterday, and that's how fast this week has gone. Things are creeping back. We're going to break down a whole bunch of stuff today. We're going to talk about other assets. We're going to talk about some miners, where they stand, some record HODL for miners too, whole bunch of ratios, whole bunch of charts, including a new section. It's going to be called Good Charts, Bad Charts. We'll look at OTC supply and a whole bunch more. Let's get into it, everybody. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, the mods in chat, for keeping us all safe and secure. Now I just need to find there it is, my slides. So this one is also called 75% allocation. What is a prudent allocation to Bitcoin? So, and not financial advice. Ooh, went too fast there. And shout out as well to Patreon. This is from Vagabond. It says, Patreon is great. Every night, a listen before bed, and every morning, a read of Patreon emails. Vagabond, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy them. Let's jump into Fear and Greed, 31, down from 33. People aren't still quite sure where the market's going just yet. Let's get into the Bitcoin news. Some fun history, first of all. We've got to talk about JP Morgan. This is from the Bitcoin historian. Jamie Dimon on this day, exactly 7 years ago, I'd fire anyone caught trading Bitcoin. Fast forward 7 years, JP Morgan is a broker for BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, the most successful ETF launch in history. Ta-da! You can't stop progress, and you can't kill Bitcoin. So welcome in. Now, the big story today is really talking about a thing called Criterion. I'll walk about that, but I want to explain, first of all, it's a methodology around optimal allocation based on, of course, history in the past. But this is a cool little formula we'll dig into. And a shout out to Mr. 2J and Patreon for sharing this with me. First of all, the Kelly Criterion looks at risk reward. I always talk about risk and reward, and that's key to allocations, and allocations matter in investing. But the Kelly Criterion takes into account the potential returns, reward, and probability of success risk for each investment option. Now, Bitcoin's historical performance feeds this, of course, and over the past several years, Bitcoin has shown high returns, but also very high volatility. But this Kelly Criterion formula suggests a 75% allocation to Bitcoin, again, because of its strong performance. But it is expected, it is expected to outperform all other assets, but over a 5-year period. And remember, the key here is 75% Bitcoin based on history. Things could be different in the future. The other 25%, where you put that is up to you. Normally, if you are 75% in a very volatile asset, you want the other 25% to be in something safer. And the old days used to be like bonds and stuff, but who knows now? Knowing me, I'd put it in somewhere like Tesla or more. And but this is fascinating, and a lot of people, I hope, will see this, because again, the key is it looks at history and performance, but considering the scarcity, if you have the patience to hold and ride through the storms, you should probably outperform pretty much every other asset, as it has done in history, with maybe one or two exceptions. But it's so hard to find those exceptions too. So that was the title story of 75% allocation. It sounds crazy. And by the way, people ask, why do you talk about Bitcoin all the time? Because I am nearly 75% allocation. When you add up my MicroStrategy, my CleanSpark, my Bitcoin, my other miners, I'm pretty much very close to that amount by design. Of course, some of those will change too as we go forward. So I thought that was interesting. Now, Marathon broke a new record. Thank you, DBF430. Marathon now hold 26,200 Bitcoin. And you probably get the play on words here. It's by design, obviously. Marathon mining is about a marathon. A marathon is exactly 26.2 miles long. And now they got 26.2 thousand Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor was very impressed with this. And now they're working on the next marathon. Good they get to 52. But the crazy thing is, 26,200 Bitcoin. I decided to run this through our little miner model and update all the HODL for all the top miners. And the way you interpret this chart here, you see the amount held by miners. You got HUT, Marathon 26,200 now, etc. Hive 2,500, Riot 9,700, CleanSpark about 7,600, Cypher about 2,270, Bitfarms about 1,000, and the rest don't hold because they're selling to pay bills, etc. Invest in more rigs. But when you calculate the exact Bitcoin price today, right now, multiply by the HODL, you get some crazy numbers. And the most important ratio is the one on the right. And I ranked them, basically, their HODL as a percentage of their market cap as it stands today. And the winner is HUT. 40% of their market cap is made up of Bitcoin. But as I've also shared, they've been sunsetting a lot of their rigs. They are not efficient when it comes to mining, but they have got a big bag of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes to the moon, HUT will do very well. Now, Marathon have just eclipsed $1.5 billion in HODL. That's massive. And now they have literally 1/3 of their market cap is made up of Bitcoin HODL. And Hive has about 30%, Riot about 26%. CleanSpark now is nearly 19%. Cypher, 13%. And that is quite substantial, especially if we do get that spike to $100,000 Bitcoin. This HODL will be very impressive. And this HODL will also empower these miners to do a lot of M&A activity as well, considering it like a money market account that can be used for other purposes too. Fascinating to see. Now, in other news too, speaking of BlackRock, like we did at the beginning, this from Cointelegraph, they just posted that Tether recorded more profit than BlackRock in 2023. Tether posted $6.2 billion in profits last year, surpassing BlackRock's $5.5 billion. Remember, BlackRock has nearly 11 trillion in assets under management, and they make a tiny sliver of profit from that. Tiny. They need other sources of profit. And the number of employees within BlackRock, I don't know, was 30,000 or something like that. Huge. And Tether has a handful. So the profit per body is outrageous. This is why the world wants stablecoins. This is why PayPal are going in headlong with USDC on Solana to build up their stablecoin bag as well, because it's very lucrative, especially in a high interest rate environment. But what happens when rates get cut in about 10 days or so? Of course, they won't be making as much profit, but it's good to watch. Now, in corrupt government news, this is, again, super interesting from Eleanor Tourette. SEC Gov Chairman Gary Gensler is under investigation by top Republican lawmakers Jim Jordan, Patrick McHenry, and James Comer for engaging in suspected political favoritism in his hiring practices. Ooh, well, shiver me timbers, as they say. What a surprise. There's a lot of other crazy stuff going on behind the scenes, I guarantee you. Choke Point 2.0 and all the sidebar conversations with Elizabeth Warren. That's just the nature of government. And the good thing is about Bitcoiners in this audience, they know this. That's why they're in Bitcoin. That's why they're watching these videos. So congratulations to all you ladies and gentlemen out there, because you know what's going on and you know where the truth lies. And it's not in the mainstream media, and it's not being espoused by your government officials. Very important. Now, funny saying this for the third time, I'm going to mention BlackRock again today. You can't make this stuff up. Watch your guru, says BlackRock. BlackRock say Bitcoin is a hedge against declining trust in governments. Oh my goodness. And of course, fiat currencies and banks and everything else. This is why we Bitcoin. And there was also news out of Australia today that they want to silence X like they did in Brazil. Shout out to our Australian friends here. You know what's going on. Keep your government officials straight. The minute you as a citizen lose the ability to speak freely, that's it. Game over. Piper, good to see you up in Canada. I hope they're not going to do any of that nonsense up there too, although they'd probably like to. But things are getting really desperate around the planet. This is why we Bitcoin. Welcome to the new segment. We're going to start with the new segment. I call it Bitcoin Black. Black equals bad charts. So again, try to put everything fair and balanced, because we do have some ugly charts we will share today, but the follow-up will be some very positive charts too. So hold on. We'll get to the ugly first and we end on a high note. First of all, Bitcoin versus gold. A lot of talk about this all over the place. The gold bugs are going mad. They had the best year so far in a decade plus. And Bitcoin prices have declined at the same time. Gold prices have reached a new, fresh record high, causing correlation between them to turn negative. You can see here in this chart, NASDAQ is purple, gold is that goldy color, and the black line is the Bitcoin price. And the crazy thing is, gold is outperforming. Now, with gold increasing and Bitcoin decreasing, that typically signals a risk-averse environment where investors favor traditional safe haven assets like gold. And for the longest time, Bitcoin has been correlated to risk assets like NASDAQ stocks, QQQ. And here we are. So Bitcoin to NASDAQ correlation is plus 0.39, and Bitcoin to gold is minus 0.4. And the good news, I'm going to come back to gold versus Bitcoin and show you another chart that tells a different story. Same story, but again, if you can always find a time frame that'll tell the narrative you want to tell yourself. So beware of that, everybody. Another bad news, though, supply crunch was something that a lot of people, including myself, expected earlier this year. With the sheer pace at which the ETF started accumulating Bitcoin, there simply wasn't enough. But then the 5Gs happened, and now OTC desks, the cupboard is no longer bare, but now it's full. This is the OTC desk update from CryptoQuant. There's now over 400,000 Bitcoin in OTC desks, and the rate of change has slowed down. So it looks like that's kind of peaking right now, which is good. The little line with the purple arrow shows you the OTC balance. It's a little bit hard to see. That's why I added the purple arrow there. The pink is the OTC balance change over 30 days, and the price of Bitcoin. The more OTC has, the more price goes down. The less OTC has, the more price goes up. It's direct supply and demand correlation. So we watch this very carefully. But if somebody wants to step in now and buy 400,000 Bitcoin, technically they can do it through an OTC desk. I know that Michael Saylor is on the cusp of probably buying about 32,000. So there's enough for him to do an OTC deal too as well. And another bad news, adoption. You know, I look a lot at adoption because I'm a believer in Metcalfe's law, but the number of average active addresses on Bitcoin has dropped to a low comparable to the market crash of July 2021, and also following the mining ban in China. We're now only at 1 million monthly active users on the Bitcoin network. Considering there's over 55 million wallets, that means 1 in 55 is actively using the chain once a month. And when you compare this to something like Solana, Solana has 40 million monthly active users, so 40 times what Bitcoin has. So for some reason, retail's gone, not a lot of activity on chain. We knew the ETS would eat into on-chain activity because that Bitcoin comes off the market, gets locked away, but didn't think it would be quite this bad. So we'll watch this very carefully, and we hope for a rebound. And this should actually coincide with a rebound. Shout out to Andy in Australia. I hope you heard my opening remark. But they should correlate with a rebound when retail comes in, normally in the latter part of the bull market. They should really go nuts real fast. So again, we'll watch it carefully. But so far, that is considered an ugly chart in my eyes. And the final ugly one too, the ETF Cost Basis at the end of August, the ETF US spot participants, their average cost is about $61,000 per Bitcoin. As it stands right now, Bitcoin is trading at, bear with me and pull up the live chart, 58.5. So they're like $2,500 under their cost basis. And that sometimes leaves a bad taste in people's mouths as well, when they buy something and it goes down in value when they're promised to go to the moon. So a little bit of a dampener. But let's get into the new segment, part 2. This is gold. Gold equals good charts, okay? So black, bad, gold, good. Hope that works. First of all, let's look at Bitcoin on the ATR. A little pattern I saw this morning, chatting with a few folks. And here you can see this is level 5 on the ATR model. Level 6 is 73,800 at the top. And we've had a very good bull run so far, but we're far away from all-time high, well to the tune of, $14,000. Not too close. A little more, 15,000. What's crazy about this line here called level 5, which is exactly at 56,100. We've bounced off this 4 times since May. Boom, 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 boom. The question is 4 times a charm? Where do we go from here? But it looks like if anybody is interested in buying Bitcoin at 56K, this is a very, very strong support level. I still see people in the comments and chat, oh, Bitcoin's going to 30,000, it's going to 40,000. Yeah, if you look at this, it looks like it's a pretty solid support of 56. So again, we're still in September, but September is like it's a green day right now. Everything's green. Everything. And rate cuts are coming. So the setup is positive. Liquidity is growing. We'll talk about liquidity right now. This is another cool chart, which again, even though it signifies we're going down, it's actually positive. And let me explain why. So you can see here, this is Bitcoin mirroring US net liquidity to a T. As US net liquidity has dropped, so has the price of Bitcoin. And that is the problem. Now, both have been trending sideways downwards in the chop for the past 6 months. But the good news is net liquidity is about to skyrocket. Okay? Added a little rocket ship so you can see there what's going to happen next. And that should float the Bitcoin price, ladies and gentlemen. So that's kind of where we are right now. So that is good news. The fact that they are so correlated is a positive sign because we know one is going up, so the other one will follow. It's that simple. It's not hard. And Bitcoin MVRV Z Score is very bullish. This is from ARK Invest. This is an indicator comparing Bitcoin's market cap to its cost basis cycle to cycle. And Bitcoin's MVRV Z Score has defended its mean since inception. And at the close of August, the MVRV Z Score was 1.6 relative to its mean of 1.42. And that serves as a line that we are still in the bull market. Net bullish, everybody. We are not in the bear market that many people believe we are in. Not unless this chart and this indicator is completely broken. So take that too. Also, Axel Adler Jr., that's some really good stuff. This is a crypto quant chart. He highlighted a few things. First of all, this is the UTXO block profit and loss count ratio model, and the indicator shows the ratio of profits to losses in each block has dropped from 16,000 to 23. It's basically flatlined. And this historically has always been a bottom signal alert. So let's hope Axel and the chart and history repeats. Yes, you can go a little bit deeper. You can fall a few points lower. But net, that's a very positive sign. Now let's get back to gold versus Bitcoin. I pulled up a chart year to date comparing both just for perspective, and I call it the tale of two cities. And gold has shown remarkable strength in 2024. It is trading, if you look at the red line on both charts, that is the 200-day moving average, and you'll see gold is trading far above its 200-day moving average. And in contrast, Bitcoin is trading quite a bit below its 200-day moving average, to the tune of about 15%. And the year-to-date performance, despite the narrative that gold is outperforming Bitcoin that you'll hear from the gold bugs, it's not. Gold is up 23% year-to-date, marking its best performance in a decade, and Bitcoin is up 32%. 23, 32, that pattern, you can't make that up. It's just there. But the market perception versus reality, again, a lot of media attention on gold's impressive run. But the truth is, Bitcoin continues to deliver superior returns. And yeah, once every 10 years, you'll get a gold run like this. But part of it is because the world is very nervous. The macro is very bad. There's wars bubbling up all over the place, and people are afraid. And gold loves that. And that's what we're seeing. But long-term perspective, this is kind of the coolest stat. If you had invested $1 in Bitcoin 14 years ago, you'd have $67 million today. If you invested $1 in gold 14 years ago, you'd have about $1.80. Okay? You would have made 80 cents on your gold and 67 million on your Bitcoin. What's in your pocket? Of course, those returns aren't going to return because it was a very small asset back then. But again, it's an interesting perspective. And another good news, and this may seem like bad news to some, But this is the stock to flow deflection. And this is how much the Bitcoin price is away from where the stock to flow value should be, considering its stock to flow of zero, of the 112 years, is it, or 56 years? I can't remember. I get the epochs a little bit confused. Either way, the point is we are way below where the market value should be right now. And this is also another bottom indicator. And I know people say, well, stock to flow doesn't really work. It's been pretty on the spot since 2018. So shout out to Plan B if he's looking at this. This is not Plan B's chart, but hopefully he can do an update for us on stock to flow deflection. I think it'll be very interesting. And time for a Hopium hit of the day. Who's ready? This is from Titan of Crypto. The legendary $100,000 target is incoming. People have been waiting for this puppy for 5 years. And according to Titan of Crypto, the end of the year could surprise many. And in fact, yesterday, I spoke about how Tom Lee expects $100,000 Bitcoin right after the elections. Thank you as well, Sean Donnelly and Rusty Bot and the whole gang for coming. But this chart feels very reminiscent of the end of 2022, when recession was in every mouth and trending on X. But back then, many anticipated $9,000 or lower Bitcoin, but it had bottomed in the same cup and handle shape, and then it rocketed. And we are in exactly the same situation right now. And per Titan of Crypto, his target is $110,000 by year end. Remember, be on the train for the top 10 days of the year. That's when 80% plus of the gains happen. And it can move very fast. So we'll see. And another good news too. Despite the negative news of the OTC desks having a lot, this is from Mitchell from Blockware, the supply of Bitcoin held by long-term holders is about to hit a new all-time high. And people normally refer to this as supply squeeze because once the Bitcoin goes into these long-term holder hands, it rarely leaves. Now, if you look at the green line, that is what we're talking about here, the long-term holder. It's spiking up. I do believe, as I said many times this year in Q1 2024, there was a lot of long-term holders that decided to sell their Bitcoin and move to ETFs. I have tons of anecdotal evidence and some on-chain evidence that kind of proves that. In addition, we had long-term bags move from places like Mt. Gox to new wallets. And of course, Germany selling and all the 5Gs, the Genesis, the Grayscales. Huge amount of long-term holder wallet positions that all of a sudden got moved. That's the green dip you see there at the beginning of this year. And now it's sitting in long-term holder hands. And that's only increasing every single day. And once it does, we could have north of 15 million Bitcoin in long-term holder hands. And as you know, that's pretty much all it's going to be. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And another adoption news for crypto, which is super fascinating. Singapore. Stablecoins are surging in Singapore. Stablecoin adoption doubles quarter over quarter to $1 billion from nothing. Nothing. And this is from Bloomberg and Chain Analysis. This shows you how literally we are so early and how fast things can change. Stablecoins are becoming the new fiat for everybody. And digital wallets and the ability to transfer stuff seamlessly at no charge is very, very much in vogue and only going to become more popular as we go forward. Bitcoin only plays from here after this video. Let's jump into the ETF. A couple of interesting observations from the ETFs. Remember, a big part of the price action is determined by these puppies. We had a big ARK dump yesterday. They dropped $54 million. Back to negative for the day. We had 2 positive days, back to negative, and we had 8 negative days in a row, and then 2 positive and back 1 negative, all because of ARK. I think ARK have a lot of hedge fund speculators in their fund, so they're getting in and out of trades pretty quickly. And that explains that. Like who would sell at 56, 57, 58K level? It's not a smart move, unless, of course, you're a speculator. And this shows you over 2 weeks. That's over 2 weeks, 11 trading days, which is 2.2 weeks. BlackRock had 2 dumps and 0 inflow and over $1 billion in volume a day. Huh. What type of market-making games are happening behind the scenes right there, ladies and gentlemen? They are overdue for a big buy. This is the chart you can see here. Red is BlackRock, IBIT. they've basically left the picture completely about 3 weeks ago and have done nothing. But they are overdue for a big buy. Mark my words, it'll probably happen this week. And the money will come in, especially with Bitcoin being so cheap. The market makers will eventually find a time to snag, or maybe they've been snagging in the bags already, or they have an arrangement with the OTC desk. Either way, we'll see. ARK, big dip. And we are now actually below trend again. Yesterday I was so happy we got above it. Now we're back below it again. The pink line reached about 30 million plus a day. We had a minus $143 million a day. But still, a little bit of good news. ETFs are still up over $100 million so far, 3 trading days this week. And 757 Bitcoin were released back on the market from the dump yesterday. Not bad considering 2,033 and 500 were sucked in the first 2 days. So we are still very much up for the week. Let's watch this carefully and see where we get to. Thank you all for coming. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate you. Check on Bitcoin right now. Fell $100 during our stream. That's unusual. Anyway, thank you all for coming. See you later. Bye-bye.